Hello and welcome to the Scoutcast ahead of Gameweek 14 as our struggle to predict the unpredictable continues. And also we're going to be talking about stubbornness. That's going to be a key thing at the moment. My name is Joe.
My name is Az.
And my name is Lee.
Welcome everyone as we look ahead to the weekend's matches and beyond. Welcome Lee, who is having an incredible run with his Ings differential. So this is, forget your FPL scores and all those kinds of things. Yeah. The important thing is, last time we were on the Scoutcast, you said get Ings in as a good differential. And hey presto, he can't stop scoring. And welcome Az.
Doing all right.
And Az is here, the differential king. Making a return to the Scoutcast.
Battle of the Kings, Lee.
Yeah, there we go.
And you'll be taking your turn to pick a differential later on. But yeah, Az, what else is coming up in the show?
So we're going to be talking about Jesus, and I like your note here, Joe. Can he be a differential saviour? It's clever what you've done.
Clever.
Very good. Spurs. So already a first win under Mourinho. Lots of differential picks in there. Are any of them that we're going to consider and turn to? And finally, we're going to talk about how to take advantage of stubborn managers. So talk about our own stubbornness. Or is it patience? When does stubbornness become patience? I think that's the question. So there's still people out there who have owned Pukki all this time and managed to get an assist from him finally. You've got people like Lee who don't own Vardy and probably suffering a bit every time he scores.
A bit, yeah.
And then people like Joe who are captaining Sterling and Salah every week and not really getting any points.
Indeed.
So that kind of thing. And then we look back at Game Week 13 scores and our plans for the next game week. And it's my turn to pick a differential, and you won't believe who I'm going for. It's a major shock.
Wow.
And there's clean sheets, rough with a smooth, and more.
Okay, let's quickly look back on Game Week 13. A good week for all of us. I think all of us above average. And I know Lee, you've got a red arrow, but still a respectable 59 points. But yeah, I'm top of the tree, surprisingly, with 70. So I'm up to 54k. Salah to Mane was my move, and I captained the fella. Why not? And so at last I got the cheap defender benching right with Rico's 0 riding the pine there. Usually I've got about 14 points from a single player like Sionju or Lundstrom on my bench. So yeah, got it right this time. Happy with my team, apart from two obvious weak links, Otamendi and Mount, who frustratingly went down in price last night. So please stop transferring early in the week. Just leave it until Friday.
Why do you still have Otamendi, Joe?
I don't know.
How?
And it's not even like I have other fires to put out. I think
he's too stubborn, Az. We're going to talk about it later.
I think I'm too stubborn. No, I'm not too stubborn. I just... It always involves a hit, and I only really want to get rid of him for a bench player that I'm not going to play for a while anyway. So that's the problem. That's the Otamendi curse that I'm stuck with for the rest of this season. Okay, Az, you're up next. You got 70 as well, but with a points hit, so just a bit behind. But let's have a look at your team. What went right? What went wrong?
Another points hit. Keep them coming. I think only Luke's made more than me, I think, in out of my rivals. A pretty decent week actually. I've gone up 1 million places in the last 2 weeks because I was sub 2 million at one point, which isn't why I haven't been on the Scoutcast for a while. Honestly, it's nothing at all to do that. I'm not doing a Granville as he likes to do. But yeah, it's been tough. But I'm feeling a little bit more confident going forward now. I took a bit of a weird hit this week. I bought out Pereira who was playing Brighton, and bought in Soinchu. So a really sideways move there. And I was a bit worried about Pereira because I thought Brighton were quite weak down the left with Bong or Burn or whoever plays it. So I was a bit worried about that. Escaped, only 1 point difference between them. And then I just corrected the mistake I made of Hudson-Odoi and bought in James Maddison. Hudson-Odoi is just... I think I got a little bit unlucky with it, to be honest. I bought him in just as Pulisic hit is an amazing run of form. Hudson-Odoi, I think, had 3 assists in 3 when I bought him in, and he looked like quite a good option, and then he missed out in that game. And then Pulisic got a hat-trick and hasn't really looked back. So a little bit disappointed with that, but you talk about stubbornness. Most of my hits this season have been correcting stupid decisions like Ceballos, who I had, and getting rid of De Bruyne.
Him.
Yeah, I was talking him up loads at the start of the season. So, yeah, that's been a bit of a disaster. So yeah, it's a funny one. I mean, but we talk about patience. I've still got Aubameyang, so how much longer can I give him?
There we go. Lee, you're up next. I just wanted to mention, though, that Az got in Hudson-Odoi. That was Sam's last differential pick. So, whilst Sam often gets a higher score than you, season after season...
thank you, Joe. Yes, thank you.
You can at least wave your Danny Ings scarf at her and say, you're better at being differentials, because Hudson-Odoi was a right stinker.
I feel like that's all I've got right now is the Danny Ings differential from a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to dine out on that for at least a few more weeks. Certainly tonight. No doubt about it.
At least you've got Danny Ings.
At least I've got Danny Ings.
Let's have a look at your team. 59. So yeah, not bad, but dropped a bit down to just 123k, I believe.
Yeah, there was a bit of a red arrow, about 20k red arrow. I think I was about par, to be honest with you. And I feel like I've been about par for a few weeks. I've been treading water for a few weeks. I've been between sort of 95k and 120k, and I'm sort of going up and down in that bracket quite a bit. What's stopping me going up above 95k is no Vardy. I'm actually having pretty solid-ish game weeks, but the no Vardy is really killing me. And when we talk about transfers a bit later on, he's got to come in. He's absolutely got to come in. But so no, a bit of a treading water game week. It was a bit of a what could have been game week. What could have been? No Vardy, but did have Maddison. So the whole, the roller coaster of emotions when Vardy misses the penalty, Maddison gets the rebound, but then it's obviously retaken. That's a big FPL swing for me. That was a big point swing that could have been. And of course, I had Sterling in my team as well for game week 13. And of course, his armpit was offside according to the VAR. So needless to say, my thoughts on VAR did not improve in a positive way over the weekend, and it's starting to affect my enjoyment of FPL as well as the football. So
I mean, that's quite funny though from an outside perspective. That couldn't have gone worse for you, could it? Really?
It was not good. And also I bought in Charlie Taylor this game week because I think he's a really nice pick at 4.2, and Burnley just starting to look a bit better defensively. And then didn't play him, decided I was going to go Rico instead. And I genuinely don't know what was going through my head. Maybe I thought Rico might be on some free kicks and corners, but then obviously Fraser's back, so there's less chance of Rico getting anything. So yeah, it was the game week that it could have been really good, Joe. It could have been really good, but in the end, treading water.
It's interesting what you say about VAR, be it the VAR curse of this season. Whether they get it right or wrong, it's ruining it for a lot of fans, but it's also ruining it for us FPL managers. And they don't think of us first. They should do. Because, luckily, I was out walking the dog during that Vardy-Maddison mayhem. And I was also out in the evening when Sterling got his goal, but then didn't get his goal. So I missed all of that. But being an FPL manager, watching that, listening to that, following it on Twitter, how annoying is that? Hooray, your captain finally scores and now he gets it taken away from you. And it's the same with Vardy. I can't even get my head around what the potential of points would have been. But how annoying. And I think that's often forgotten about VAR and all the money that's been spent of it, and the way, obviously, the Premier League and gets priority treatment, but Fantasy Premier League. Think of us, lads and lasses.
Well, it happened to us really early in the season, didn't it, Joe? Yeah. Remember Trossard scored from...
Oh, yeah.
And then scored and then didn't score. Taken away from us. Look, we had so many hipster points going in. Look at us with Trossard in and then taken away, and then we're just back to nothing. So we couldn't do anything.
It's all VAR's fault. I'm a million in the world, I swear.
It was the context of that Vardy Maddison thing though. I try not to ever let FPL ruin my mood for the weekend, but I tell you what, I was grumpy on Saturday night. Was I grumpy? Goodness me. And then the Sterling thing just compounded it. That was it. I had an early night. Thought I'd wait for Sunday.
Yeah, okay. Well, we've had some smooth and we've had some rough this week already. But as I understand that some members of the community have had a rough and smooth week as well. Yeah, do you want to let us know any teams?
Yeah, mostly smooth. Ooh. I was expecting to see a bit more kind of rough out there, but I'll give you some smooths first. Big Dave saves. So he had a bit of a rough. So he kept Mahrez all this time waiting for the ban. And then was like, actually, he's never going to get banned. I'll just get rid of him just before this game. And then the day after he got rid of him, Silva got the ban, and Mahrez played and got 10 points. So he was a bit frustrated with that. Why I want to mention Big Dave saves, though, is he was 1.7 million in the world 4 game weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And now he's 190k.
Ooh, okay.
Nice.
So I just think that is an amazing jump, because I was sort of around 2 million a few weeks ago as well, and I think I've done quite well to be sort of around the million mark, and he's sort of heading towards top 100k, so that's really good effort. Santi Gold, he did what you should have done a while ago, Joe, and bought in someone for Otamendi, and he bought in Soyuncu, who you already got, so he was a great pick. He captained Vardy, he's got some points from him, and he managed to get Cantwell's 10 points off the bench, so nice. Gary and Jamie, now this is one I wanted to put to you both, because I think this is quite interesting. He used the free hit chip. Okay. So not a conventional time to use the free hit chips, or coming into December. I looked at his team, and his team got him 36 extra points with the free hit. So not bad. You then think to yourself, well, now he's got to go back to the old team. Maybe his old team's rubbish and he's going to regret it. His old team's really good, but they just all blanked. So he had Salah, he had Mount, he got bench, he had Tielemans, Maddison, Lundstrom, all these players who aren't bad picks, just all blanked. And he used a free hit, got 36 points extra. I'll be happy with that.
Nice work. Yeah. If I could take 36 on a free hit, I think I'd take it.
I mean, I hope to get 36 my next free hit. I feel that the odds, though, because I think anyone who uses those chips during a single game week has, to an extent, will get lucky. And I think during a double game week, you're halving your luck. So you're just playing percentages.
Yeah.
But, I mean, since you're on that theme, I just want to mention Andy Goddard, that is, who's top of the Fantasy Football Scout Moderators and Contributors League. He appeared on the Scoutcast. Everyone would know him as a big Leicester fan. So he captains Jamie Vardy a lot. He used his bench boost this week. 85 points he got. He sort of skewed it slightly by putting Son
How many from the bench?
On his bench. Technically, I would say he is about 12 points up. So that shows that it's good to get that little bench boost. But I think during a double game week, you could probably get 20. As I said, he has skewed it by putting Son and his 13 points alone on his bench. So it's doubtful he would have done that. And Mbappe maybe would have got that place on the bench. But nevertheless, it shows you the difference, the rough and the smooth. He's used that bench boost, and he's got a good little bump there, nice extra 10, 12 points or so. But I think those that use it during a double game week will benefit. And I think someone who got 36 points from a free hit or a bench boost, great. But I think you've got better odds of getting. I
mean, 12 is kind of the minimum you'd accept, I think, for a bench boost. I'd definitely be wanting more than that. But I mean, a free hit, 36 points. I looked at his team and I just couldn't understand why he'd done it, but it worked. So.
It can work. There was the guy from now Lee might remember this because his name has escaped me. It was Wijnaldum, wasn't it, when he was at Newcastle? And he moved to Liverpool. Remember when he was at Newcastle and he scored something ridiculous, like 1 million goals in 1 week?
He got 4 against Norwich.
That was it.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there were some people out there, nut jobs, who triple captained him. And that's it. Yeah. Job done. There's your triple captainship success. Don't worry about double game weeks. So it can be done. And he's moved to Liverpool, and he's put in some quite useful goals for Liverpool as well. So he's certainly still got it in him. But nevertheless, it just shows you can get lucky. But I do think you can. All those other times, likes of Sanchez, remember when he was good at Arsenal, and all of those
Sanchez was good, yeah.
Aguero, mega scores you're talking about here as triple captain in a double game. Anyway, let's move on. Although, is there any more?
I got just a couple of roughs. So okay. IWR and Rhinos, they went a bit left field with their captain choice. Captain Richarlison at home to Norwich, they lose 2-0, and the trouble with a captain like that is it's not just not getting those points, it's also all the other captain options doing really well. Yeah. So it's like a double slap to the face. And just the last one, I thought this one's quite funny. It's not funny, but it's quite funny. A Hand of Clod. He had Tarkowski first sub. Yeah. And then he was like, oh, don't worry, Mount's not playing, maybe I'll get him. And then Mount came on for 10 minutes.
Ouch.
I know how he feels, as Sionju stayed on my bench when Otamendi came on for his 1 point. It's very frustrating. Let's move on. We talked, as usual, we look at players, teams and talking points of the week. The community will be asking us questions about them. The player that we've had some questions about is Jesus, Man City. Aguero is out for a few weeks, Pep's most likely alternative, although I suspect Az may dispute this, will be Jesus, who has been preferred away a lot anyway up front to Aguero, but Sterling as a number 9 could also be an option. So we've had a few questions about this, and I'm just going to sum with just two people. Lots and lots of people be answering basically the same questions. So I've just picked out FPL Hackney. Is it time to get Jesus with Aguero sidelined? Nice and simple. And FPL Prez, Jesus looks like a good differential punt with Aguero out for a while. So before I come to both of you, I just wanted to talk about something that myself and David were talking about on the captain video. I do urge people to have a look at that, or listen to the podcast version of the Gameweek 14 captain video and podcast this week. And we were looking at Jesus, and here's a table. So I'll put up the table here, and this is about Man City's key players. And looking at the last 4 away matches. So Man City, this is important because obviously Man City away next, so you're looking to get an immediate return on your investment. But also they play, as well as Newcastle, they've got Burnley away and also Arsenal away in the next 4. So there's an away theme here anyway. Last 4 away matches, Jesus has had a goal attempt in the box every 13.9 minutes. That is, wow, that's like Giroud level. That's really good. And Aguero won every 21 minutes, Raheem Sterling every 25 minutes. So that proves that he's right up there. He's getting those stats. I think those that get him in, I think they're going to get returns. I think those that have Sterling may also get returns as well, because a lot of Sterling's good performances have come when Jesus is on the pitch. I think he's going to start. I think he's going to do well. He's around 9.5. It's a tricky price point, but I guess if someone's got Aguero, I think that's a good move, and you can free up a bit of funds and maybe invest that elsewhere. So that's my thoughts on it. I'm bigging up Jesus. So yeah, let's come to you first, Lee. What do you think about Jesus, or it's just too tricky a price point, or what's your thoughts?
Well, I think he could be a fantastic differential over the next few weeks, no doubt about it. I think he's in, at time of recording, 1.7% of teams. And there isn't many strikers that are in 1.7% of teams that are going to play regularly, especially in that free-flowing Man City side. Now, you talked about the fixtures. Yes, he tends to play better away from home. And frankly, City have got to go for it at the minute. They've got to go for it. Liverpool are pretty relentless in winning every single week. So City have got to score goals. They've got to go after these games in the way that they did once they'd settled down in that Chelsea game. So I actually do like him. I think he's a really nice differential for anybody that wants to bring him in for the next few weeks, at least until Aguero comes back. I just struggle to find a place for him. Those 3 forward slots in our FPL teams are highly coveted right now. I am, as of this game week, going to be on Vardy, Abraham and Jimenez, as I guess quite a lot of FPL managers are going to be. As is on Aubameyang, you've got Lacazette in there as well. Pukki might be coming back into the equation now that Norwich have taken a bit of an upturn in form and Zimmerman's back. The Spurs boys, so you've got Kane potentially up there as well. So it's becoming very, very hard to pick which 3 you're going to go with. But if you're chasing your mini leagues and you're looking for somebody that's a bit of a differential, 1.7. And if you've got Aguero and you fancy doing something a bit different, then absolutely look at Jesus. What do you think, Haz? Jesus, good differential?
I'm in 2 minds. So I'm a bit warmer towards him than I was maybe yesterday or the day before. My worry with him is that firstly know that you're giving yourself a transfer to make down the line, and probably over the Christmas schedule, when you really don't want to have that kind of thing to make, because the games come so fast. I mean, you could argue maybe that's a good time to do it because you haven't got to wait a week and you can kind of switch in and out. But in a time when there's likely to be lots of rotation and potential injuries because the game's so close together, the idea of giving myself a transfer that I know I'm going to have to make in 4 weeks isn't that appealing. I also worry a little bit about the fact that Pep is just all about the Champions League this season. And now Jesus is their only sort of fit striker. I do wonder if he's going to kind of manage him even more so. I mean, we saw it with Mendy. When Zinchenko got injured, everyone thought, oh, that's Mendy nailed now. He's the only decent left back. And now Angelino's come into the team. They've got Cancelo who can play there. So he's never afraid to kind of do things. Like, you think Aguero's injured, Jesus is going to play every match. I wouldn't be surprised to see him still miss a few matches over Christmas because that's Pep for you. On the other hand, I'm sitting with Aubameyang, who's absolutely useless, and it would be a really easy switch for me to go for Jesus and get in someone who is a bit of a differential. And I mean, the games aren't great, but Newcastle aren't great. Burnley have let in quite a few goals at home this season. United look all over the place. Arsenal was a great game, so it's only really that Leicester game where you kind of don't.
I think you would do it. If I were you, I'd do it as.
Here we go. Here
we go. Here are the mind games. Here they come.
You don't need to mind games me, John.
I'm going to mind game the hell out of you now. I'm going to mind game the bejesus out of you now.
No, he is. I am actually considering. I mean, one of the things I've said to myself in previous seasons is when one of Jesus or Aguero's fit, just to get in the other one.
Yeah.
Because it, and that has actually worked sort of quite well for me in the past. That's it. I mean, I'm a bit worried about his minutes, but I think that table you showed, Joe. I think the fact he's got the most shots per minute out of all the City players means that when he plays, he is a good option.
I think that's it's a really useful metric for players like that who aren't starting. I remember it'd be good for some. It's always been good down the line for Man City players in general, the likes of Mahrez, for example, to monitor them. You always look at the minutes played stats, and Jesus is looking good. Just looking at your team, as Abraham and Vardy, you've got there, they're not going anywhere, and then you've got Aubameyang who's sticking out like a massive North London sore thumb. But Jesus looks great, and then you can move him around to, Jimenez if you wanted a bit down the line. Rashford, I quite like his price point. I quite like the fact he's a striker that you can get rid of in a few weeks because you want to sort of freshen up your front line anyway because it's very susceptible to form.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like for a lot of people, they'd probably have to move quite a few players around or do what Lee's saying, move Jimenez out, which seems a bit kind of, not the best idea with the form he's in.
If you had a straight choice though, I mean, if you look at Jesus versus say Lacazette, so Lacazette is about the same price-ish, pretty much the same sort of team selected by. Who would you fancy out of those two?
There's no decision to be made. Just avoid Arsenal. Just don't. Honestly, just don't do it yourself. And I mean Lacazette. I mean, as long as Emery's in charge, I don't trust that lineup either. I think Aubameyang is pretty much the only safe player in that team. Last year I had Lacazette, and he was getting subbed at 45 minutes when they were like 1-0 down. He wasn't starting some games.
It was really weird. He had a really weird non-celebration, didn't he, after his second goal against Southampton? It was kind of like, I'm pleased to have scored, but can't believe we're only drawing this game.
Yeah, he's not happy, and if you read the reports like they're coming out, like no one there's particularly happy. I think while Emery's there, like the games are still really good for them, but I mean, I wouldn't be advising anyone to buy Lacazette or Aubameyang before Norwich, even before Norwich. But I could make a case for Jesus, so I'd go for him.
So I'm just thinking about Sterling owners again. So the prospect of him playing up front, also just playing with Jesus as well. So cast your mind back to last August, when Raheem Sterling was scored it was a hat trick, wasn't it, against West Ham early on. So we thought, wow, this is it. Never going to ditch him, even though I just have. And he hasn't been performing. But at that time, Pep Guardiola was coming out with some comments. So this is from the Man City website on Saturday the 10th of August. And this is what Guardiola says. Since we started this season in China, so he's talking about the pre-season and the Community Shield, that's Sterling, has scored 1 goal minimum every game, or if only. But on the first day, he played a striker. And for me, striker will be an incredible position for him. He can play in 3 positions up front. They're incredibly talented players, but they need the group, they need the team, and then blah, 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 team, etc., etc. But what he's saying there is he's not afraid to play Sterling up front. He thinks Sterling's going to be a good option up front, and he can play anywhere in those front 3. So, I think you're right, Az, to think that it could be Sterling's time up there, and Jesus might not necessarily be nailed on, if you pardon the pun.
Sterling's played sort of false 9 before, isn't he? I can't remember him being that. I can't remember him doing that well.
Well, Guardiola's not talking about false 9. He's not bothering any of that false 9. He thinks full 9.
Number 9, yeah.
He thinks number 9. He thinks Sterling can be right up there.
I think what's interesting, Joe, is going back to something you said when you introduced this topic, was the effect on Jesus on Sterling when they played together. So I looked at some of the stats behind this. So Sterling's averaged 10.8 points per game when he's played with Jesus, and he's got... let's see, both of his double-digit hauls this season in matches where he's played with Jesus. When he plays without Jesus, be it Aguero or anybody else, only 3.3 points per game. So that is a massive difference. It does look, on the face of it, like Jesus has a really, really positive impact on Raheem Sterling. And I can see a few Sterling owners holding on to him on that basis, I think.
Yeah, he's a special... It's a new theory. We've been bogged down for years with Spurs theories about Kane and whoever. Dembele, I think it was, with Kane. But this is a good one with Jesus and Sterling. That's a good theory.
I think and just watching them, I always feel like Aguero is a sort of very direct, head down, wants to score the goals sort of striker. Whereas I think Jesus is a bit more of a back to goal, receives the ball, brings others into play, and then therefore the likes of Sterling and Mahrez and Bernardo Silva sort of benefit. So I do think Jesus is a bit more one of those players that's a bit less selfish and benefits those around him. So, and I think the stats sort of back that up. So I think if you're a Sterling owner, I think there's reasons to be cheerful there.
Yeah, I mean, I got rid of Sterling a couple of weeks ago, so it's long gone. Fine, I can deal with this. But I am a bit worried now that I don't own him, because it's quite a powerful argument there.
So am I.
And I think just before we move on to something else, just wanted to say in the live chat, Mark Duffield quite rightly has said, can we all try and get on board with the hard J with Jesus? And so we're going to Jesus.
Jesus.
So we've been told there by Mark Duffield. So I feel chased and bound. So well done, Mark Duffield, for pointing that out. Let's move on to the next topic. Lee, who are the team that everyone is talking about?
Yeah, so the team that everyone's talking about, and quite frankly, you've got the wrong half of FPL family on here to talk about this particular team, but everyone seems to be talking about Spurs. I think it's fair to say that a lot of us were thinking they were a bit of a lost cause this season. Didn't seem like many of their FPL assets were on any of our radars, and Kane was kind of dropping deep in that way that we hate seeing him drop deep. You know, Eriksen's head potentially a bit turned in the summer and maybe not on his game. And, we weren't quite sure. Certainly we weren't, and nor was Jose Mourinho, whether it was Dele Alli or Dele Alli's brother that was turning up to all of this.
Yeah.
But what a difference 90 minutes makes. And actually, after a pretty decent performance against a pretty abject West Ham United at the weekend, we're all talking about who from Jose Mourinho's team we want to get in. We're all thinking about the midfield, I think, in particular, with Son being a very reliable, at least in the past, FPL asset. Lucas Moura, potentially, who I think is going to flourish under Mourinho. Dele Alli, who has shown, not a lot of FPL form for some months, but suddenly pulls out, his bag of tricks on the touchline for that goal at the weekend. And of course, you've got the main man Harry Kane up front, who, Jose Mourinho has come out and said he's one of the best in the world, and he doesn't need to sign Zlatan because he's got Harry Kane. So, lots and lots of Spurs assets now back on the radar on the basis of that game. So, Joe, I'll come to you first. Anybody in that midfield in particular that's catching your eye?
All of them. I want them all, but I can't have them all. So I want one, but then at the same time, I've got a big Pulisic-shaped hole, and he's about to take on that West Ham defence that Spurs so expertly took apart. Although arguably the West Ham attack also took Spurs defence apart as well. But Son really interests me. I think he's got to be the one to go for. He's their best player. You just have to watch the matches. It's simple. But looking at the stats, looking at the Mourinho era, just one match, so a small sample. Joint highest number of shots and most chances against for any of his teammates against West Ham. Moura even better in shots, same number of shots, but all of his were in the box as well. Ali is the chances created guy, and a cut price option relatively compared to some of the others. Moura obviously even more cut price. My only problem with Ali is I'd like to see more. I want to see if he's going to look great, the best player on the pitch every match, but the assister of the assist. That's not what you want in FPL. So Son is the one I want. The dilemma I have at the moment, and everyone has got their own little dilemmas about which Spurs player to get in or not to get in. For me, I can get rid of Otamendi finally for a cheap player like perhaps Gilbert or even Charlie Taylor. And then I can upgrade Mount to Son. Done. And that would be good. It would cost me 4 points. But I can snuggle up warm across Christmas with that, I think. Especially because Villa's fixtures get really good at the latter part of the Christmas break. So that's what I want. Or I could just get Pulisic in or Moura or Ali in straight away. from Mount, and everyone's got their own different versions. And for me, Moura and Ali are a sort of wait and see. Son, I know what I'm getting. I'm getting great double-digit returns. I'm getting a captaincy option. I'm getting everything. I love him.
Yeah, I think Son is the one, isn't it? It's certainly got the community talking. FPL Geezer is saying to Son or not to Son. That is the question.
Yeah.
Vibner is saying Dele Alli, great price, pass the eye test against West Ham. Is he a good option? And then Flinney comes in with, as you say, more a decent differential to consider as well. So who's catching your eye, Az? Or should we be all chilling out a little bit? Were West Ham really that bad at the weekend?
Everyone needs to calm down.
I totally agree with you. I'm glad someone said it.
Oh my God. Everyone's going mad for the Spurs assets. They're losing tonight 2-0 against Olympiacos
really?
at home. Yeah.
Goodness me, right.
I
thought it was quiet next door.
Yeah. I don't agree with Son as much as everyone's saying. I think he has always been such a great option because he basically plays as a second striker. And I think Mourinho has plans for him to be shifted out to the wing a bit more. So I'm not convinced for 9.7 he's going to be getting the returns that we've seen him get in the past. I could be completely wrong. I do love Son as a player, but I want to see a bit more of Mourinho's tactics when they're not playing someone as completely useless as West Ham. Because actually, the fixtures for Spurs aren't that great over Christmas, I don't think. They've got United in there, they've got Burnley, they've got Wolves, they've got Chelsea. They're not fantastic, and I can't see them scoring buckets of goals in those games.
And what's more, is that all of those teams have goalkeepers that can save shots. Would you believe?
Well, exactly. When you're up against Roberto, he is the worst goalkeeper I've ever seen.
Yeah, not good.
Well, I'm going to agree with Az for that. But I do want Son. I'm going mad about Son and Spurs assets, and I realise that. But I know the sensible thing is to wait because towards the end of the Christmas fixtures. So yeah, at the moment they got Bournemouth, great, get Son in for that. But then got Manchester United away, so that could be tricky. Then Burnley, you never know what's going to happen there. Wolves, that's not good. Chelsea, not good. But then they got this lovely run towards the end of that Christmas run, which is Brighton at home, Norwich away, and then Southampton away. And that's a good run to get him in for. And I think we'd have seen, I just wonder whether he will have kind of be beyond my reach. I can get Son now, but I wonder if he'll go beyond my reach soon. And that's the worry for me. But
he is a lot of money though, I think, still 9.7. And if I was going to pick someone out of the Spurs team, I would go for Ali. Just because I think he just looks on it. I know he kind of tailed off a bit towards the end of the match, but the first sort of 45-50 minutes, he's just involved in everything that was happening.
Yeah. My concern with that though, is that is he a sort of, is there a bit of new manager bounce there? We know that Mourinho's gone in there, put his arm around him. He's said the thing about the brother, or is it your brother, whatever. That's going to fire Dele Alli up. It's going to get him going a bit, but will he regress into the Dele Alli that we've seen of late? I don't know. I really want to see some consistency before I invest. For me, I'm having a look at Moura really as a bit of a cheaper way into that Spurs midfield, as really the only Spurs asset that I'm considering. Kane, I think, requires a lot of surgery to my team, and I'm very happy with my Vardy, Abraham and Jimenez up front as my three. I don't necessarily think there's a spot for Kane there. So it's only really Moura. I think he's the only one that fits the dynamic of my team.
I think Kane was the biggest disappointment for me in that West Ham game. I know he got a goal, but I was really hoping to see him playing as just a proper number 9 and just staying around the penalty area, looking to make runs into the box. He's just still coming deep. And just... He
didn't to start with, though. First half he was number 9, but second half he regressed. I'll give you that, yeah.
He does. It just seems to be his natural kind of game to do that now. And the worst part for me is when you see a striker like Kane and they win the ball back in midfield, everyone seems to burst forward except for him. And he just labours. He kind of just trots up to the penalty. He should be the one, get the ball back, getting into the penalty area. I just don't think he's worth the money personally.
My other concern about Spurs is that sorry, Joe. My other concern about Spurs is that we know what Jose Mourinho is like, right? They'll often go 2 up and then they'll sort of sit back and they'll protect that lead. Unlike Leicester that we've seen this season, not just against Southampton, but in other games where they go for the jugular, they want to make a statement, and they're all fit because there's no European football or whatever in midweek. So every weekend they go out and they're putting in 100%, and Vardy's doing the business. I just think Spurs under Mourinho, if they do get into that position where they're a couple of goals up, that's it. They'll take that and they'll sort of sit back. And we saw that against West Ham, and it was to their detriment, actually. They almost, were it not for an offside call against Declan Rice, could have actually drawn that game. So I don't see that. It could be frustrating owning somebody like Son or like Kane under Mourinho, where, all right, they might have a goal to their name, so you're happy about that if you've captained them in FPL or you've got them in FPL. But you really, for that sort of money, especially that Son money and that Kane money, you want to go and see him get 2 goals and assist, or hat tricks and stuff. I'm not sure we're going to see that under Mourinho.
I just wanted to bring in some of the community, so they've been asking questions while I've been on air about this. The Luke guy 7, just get Son in, Joe, no messing around. I kind of see what he means now, but should I wait? Should I be dullard on that? Tommy Tom wants to know, he understands that South Korea have some internationals coming up soon. Now, my understanding, feel free to correct me, but my understanding is that that's going to be essentially for domestic players within the South Korean league. So it's not something that we Son owners need to worry about too much. Wayne Thomas said that he got Son in last game week, and he's done one of those emoticons with the guy with the sunglasses on, and he has every right to.
Good shout.
And I wonder if I will be that guy with the sunglasses on next week when I get my son out. Or will it all go wrong? And I wish I'd listened to Az, surprisingly being the dullard, voice of reason here.
Do you know what, though? The one player we haven't mentioned who I think might actually be the best option going forward is Aurier.
Yes. No. Yeah. Go on.
So he is just picking up bonus points like no one's business. He's had 7 bonus points in the last 3 games. Bearing in mind he's pretty useless. He attacking wise, he's really like he just seems to be bombing forward at kind of every opportunity anyway. Because he can't defend, so he has to do something. I've been quite harsh to Aurier, but I don't rate him. But you got to think Mourinho does have a knack of managing to tighten up defences. And although I don't really like the look of a lot of Spurs' games from an attacking point of view, actually defensively, they could end up with some clean sheets over this period. Bournemouth, Burnley, United, these all games where the teams aren't scoring that much. So if I were you, Joe, you could even think of making a easy Otamendi to Aurier swap.
Oh, I don't know. That's
really
quite
mind game.
That's a good mind game though, because I think you're right, because there always a fullback that does really well under Mourinho. So yeah,
if you were going to pick one of those fullbacks, it's 100% Aurier. I don't know if you noticed, but in that West Ham game, when they transitioned from defence to attack, when they had the ball, Spurs, Davies kind of sat in that back 3, and it was Aurier that just went. Aurier kind of went into midfield, and the other guys sort of sat back. So yeah, he's the one that's given that license to go forward when they're transitioning into attack. I don't know what he's in FPL. I genuinely haven't checked his price. I think he's 4.7 or 4.8.
He's 4.8.
He's 4.8. Yeah,
so
into him.
It's kind of a nice price if you're looking at attacking fullback. I'm not convinced on the clean sheet front, though. I know people are saying Mourinho's going to tighten them up, but they've got 1 clean sheet all season, Spurs. I don't see that miraculously changing overnight.
Well, I think basically for me, I am caught up in the excitement, but I am tempering that. And I've been on the Rate My Team tool on Fantasy Football Scout, because that's always the voice of reason, consult the computer. And the computer basically tells me that Pulisic in for Mount is the best move, and that's the move that's going to get me the most points, and I'm actually going to get less points now if I get Son in, according to the computer, but especially in taking into account the hit, but I'm also going to get less points as it is. So Pulisic, and then have a think about Spurs and leave them, and if they come out of my reach and I don't get to wear those sunglasses emoji, and I'm just the way it is. That's the way it is. Let's move on. Stubbornness. Could my stubbornness not getting Spurs in be an issue? But yeah, anyway, Az, explain all. What are we talking about?
Yeah, so if people think about your Meet the Manager videos, Joe, I've been watching a few of them lately, and on the Scoutcast as well, we always sort of talk about patience and have it as this like wonderful word that every manager should adopt more patience. But I was thinking, when does patience actually, when are you patient and when are you just stubborn? Because I've been last season, I've been patiently waiting for Jimenez to go off the boil, and he hasn't. You could argue this year I've patiently waited for Lundstrom to stop scoring every week, and he hasn't. Lee's waiting for Vardy to not score, even though he probably will. You know what I mean? When do you just have to accept that you've made the wrong decision with something and just make the move? So yeah, I'm just wondering, have you two must have stories about this from previous seasons. Like I said at the start of the Scoutcast, you've got people who've still got Pukki and are celebrating him getting an assist, and it's like, yeah, but you've had him for 8 weeks and he's blanked every week. So yeah, and I think, you know, I think learning. One thing I've tried to do this season is try to be less stubborn. So last season, not having Jimenez killed me. This season, I've had that with Lundstrom, but it hasn't been the same because I haven't been thinking, Lundstrom's going to stop scoring points. I know that he's going to keep scoring points. I just haven't. I've had so many fires to put out with other stupid decisions that I've made that I just haven't had a free transfer to bring him in. So, and also with a defender, you always feel like you're going to get punished is by 5 or 6 points, not 21 points when he scores a brace. So we put this out to the community. We had quite a lot of responses. So I think this is this is something that a lot of people think about, and a lot of people sort of suffer from during the season. So FPL Pickle, which is a great one, he owned Moise Keane from game week 1 to game week 9. Now that is dedication, isn't it? Now he can't even start against Norwich, and then he might end up being a good option if Silva gets sacked and the new manager comes in. Actually has a bit of sense, but for now he is nothing. So Rafa Ali is still ignoring Vardy, sticking with Salah. It's gone from 150k to 900k. Clapper and Gill, he got rid of Pukki last week for Vardy, so kept him for all those blanks. And then, like you, Joe, FPL Player Manager, just keeping faith in captaining Sterling every week. Like, at what point do you just accept that Sterling isn't the kind of explosive captain option that he has been in previous seasons? I mean, there's loads of these. Lego Mane hasn't got Lundstrom. He's asking if me and Andy are going to crack. Yes, definitely. They've got an incredible run coming up. Sheffield United. I'm not going without him. I watched the Man U match as well. I mean, he's actually good, isn't he?
Could have been a monster haul that against United, couldn't it? Easily.
I know. Yeah. And a great save from De Gea to keep him out.
It's like with Alonso of old. I think what we have to think with Lundstrom is yes, FPL, they categorised him wrong, they priced him wrong, but he's a good midfield option. So currently, those in a 3-4-3 playing Lundstrom every week, they're playing a 2-5-3. That's what they're playing. And we have to just that's the way I'm thinking of Lundstrom now. I'm playing 2-5-3, whether I want to play that or not.
Well, the thing is, we've had an out of position defender before. So someone like, do you remember like Phil Neville years ago? He was a defender but classified as a midfielder, I think. And we've had it with even this like someone like Delph, but they're defensive midfielders. So like you might get a goal every 10 weeks or something. To have a defender classed like box to box midfielder getting into the attacking positions that Lundstrom does is unbelievable. I mean, the only player I can think that was better in defence than Lundstrom was when Bale was like 4.5 million back like years ago, and he just absolutely terrorising everyone. But yeah, I mean, I'm not getting Lundstrom because I'm being stubborn. I know he's a great option, and I am planning to get him. It's just been tricky because I've been bringing in players like Hudson-Odoi and Mahrez who just have to leave. I mean, one question. So when I was thinking about patience at the moment, I think one of the most patient people out there are people who are holding on to Liverpool defenders. So some people have got double up Liverpool defenders, but even most of us who have like Trent, like how long do we give Trent? Like, he's just not performing at all. Like, he's not even getting the goals and assists we want from him, and he's not getting the clean sheets. He's the most expensive defender in the game. Are you two getting itchy?
No,
beat with him?
No, I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy to have his 2 points every week, bizarrely, because I know as soon as I move him to Robertson, then he's the one who gets 13 points, and Robertson gets 2. That's the FPL manager. That's the thought.
He's still being massively creative, isn't he? And he still is a threat. I mean, I know we talk, you guys talk on here most weeks about the eye test, and Trent passes it every time. I mean, what's frustrating if you're a Liverpool owner, if you're double Liverpool, for example, I know a lot of people will have had Trent and Robbo from game week 1. Liverpool seem to have a penchant for just conceding a goal. It's just a single goal. And on occasion, if you think back to the Southampton game where Adrian passed it to Ings, for example, And I can't think of any more off the top of my head right now, but there's been occasions where we've given the goal away, or it's been a wonder goal, Kante against us at Anfield, or Williams against us at Anfield. These are brilliant goals, or big errors. So I think it's just really, really unlucky. So, but to answer the question about stubbornness, I think you are probably being a bit stubborn if you're stuck on Liverpool defence. But I think it's probably warranted stubbornness, because the underlying stats are still pretty good. The clean sheets, oh goodness me, I seem to say this every week. The clean sheets are coming, and I still feel like they're coming, because
are they? Are they?
I think and I hope they are, I think and I hope they are. But I say it every week and they don't seem to. But I think if you're being stubborn and holding on to those two, I think it's with good reason. So it's probably just a bit unlucky.
It's amazing to me that Robertson has doubled Trent's points over the last 5 weeks. So Robertson's on 30, Trent's on like 13, 14, and they haven't been keeping clean sheets. So just shows that even attacking wise, Robertson is doing better than Trent. And if you hadn't been stubborn, so I think at the start of the season everyone was on Trent. There was no question that Trent was the better option. And I haven't even considered making a switch to Robertson at all. But for people that had Robertson at the start and have stuck with him, you're now kind of he's now got more points than Trent. So
for me, sorry, carry on, Lee.
Well, I was just going to say, I think the topic of stubbornness is it's you've got me on the right week, because there's at least two occasions this season where I have been incredibly stubborn. And to be honest with you guys, it's something that I consciously am doing this season. I thought I was too laissez-faire last season. I was doing a lot of points hits, and I was, and in the end, I think that affected my ranks. At the beginning of this season, it wasn't like I didn't in my head think I'll be more stubborn. I just thought, I'll go back to what you're saying, as I wanted to be more patient. I thought I'm going to be more patient. I'm going to wait to see consistency with these players, and then I'm going to get on them, which I think, now that we're 12, 13 weeks in, I feel like I'm going against the art of FPL. The art of FPL is finding the next differential and getting on him quickly before he becomes a template pick. And I think my patience, or my stubbornness, if you want to call it that, has been to my detriment this season. For example, I only got rid of Pukki a couple of weeks ago. And now that Christoph Zimmerman is back, I feel like I might want Pukki back, because I think he'll have a positive effect on Norwich. So I only got rid of Pukki a couple of weeks ago. And I'm only just getting Vardy in this game week, because over the last few weeks, I've looked at Vardy's underlying stats and thought, as every non-Vardy owner, I guess, has been saying, he can't keep it up. He can't keep up that conversion rate. He's far too clinical. There must be some regression. But goodness me, it ain't looking like it. And he's now obviously the perfect blend of form and fixtures, and looks like a nailed-on captain for the next 4 weeks. So he has come in for me this week. He had to. I had to get over my own bloody-mindedness and my own stubbornness and bring him in. So there's at least 2 occasions where I have been very stubborn. But it's a little bit self-inflicted, because that patience is something I've tried to exercise this season, but I don't like it. I
think it's the greatest skill in FPL, is knowing when to make the switch.
For me, it's the captaincy. So I think I've been okay, really, about that kind of balance between patience and stubborn and moving a player on. I've been okay with Pukki, got him in, and then I'd had enough and got rid of him a while ago. I think I've been okay with others, but it's the captaincy where I have been stubborn. And I started off the season with Sterling, Salah, they're my guys, and now I've got neither. And guess what? After loads of captaincy blanks, I'm now getting captaincy hauls from Mane and Vardy, and it's sort of take my pick, whichever one I want. So I've got 2 great ones. Just an aside, by the way, Dele Alli has just scored for Spurs, and guess who got the assist? Aurier. There we go.
Aurier.
As predicted on the Scoutcast.
Was it happening as we were talking about?
It was as we were talking. He was listening to the Scoutcast in his little headphones as he was running around, and he thought, I'll prove those guys right. And so I've been having a look at the FPL Statistico website, and this is something people like to do or hate to do when they've had a particularly bad season, because it sort of reveals why things have been going right or wrong. So over the last 13 game weeks, if I'd have always captained the highest game week scorer, I'd have 350 points. Obviously, I'm not going to get that lucky every time, but instead I've actually got 121 points for my captains. That's not great. So obviously I'm not going to get that right every week, but there's still 229 potential points I've lost out on because I've been stubborn with the captaincy. I could have been a little bit more different, I think. So my best captains are De Bruyne, 34, used once, and by accident, because Sterling wasn't playing. Vardy, 24, used once. Amongst my worst rather, Sterling averaged 9.7, but I've used him 7 times. So if I'd have used, say, Vardy more frequently, I've had a better points tally. Salah I used twice, 15 points average, quite good, but not as good compared to some of the others. Mane, for example, is better at 18, only used once, and he's already got me 18 points as a captain. So on the flip side, I've also captained Abraham once for a blank. So being different, daring to be different with the captaincy doesn't always work. So for every Mane or Vardy, there's also an Abraham who completely blanks in an easy home match. And if I'd have captained him, but if I'd have captained him for those lovely hauls away from home, which were doable, I think, that'd be much higher. Okay, so that's what I did. I do urge people to have a look at that website and have a look where they're going right or wrong this season. But for me, it really hammered home. I've been stubborn as hell when it comes to the captaincy. I've been sticking with that Game Week 1 plan. I've eventually jettisoned. It's taken a couple of months for me to do so, and now I'm reaping the rewards for that. Having said that, you know what's going to happen this week. Salah and Sterling are both Hull, and Mane and Vardy are going to blank. But nevertheless, I think it's going to, on the whole, is going to work for me. And I think other people should do it. It's a you've got to be flexible and fluid and all those types of things. But I just wanted to kind of bare my soul about that and just reveal that captaincy
is cathartic, Joe.
It's very cathartic for me because I've realised, I've eventually done something about it, but it's taken me a long time. But that's my stubborn streak.
Yes. I think that's it. That's pretty much covered. I think
got covered.
That's enough stubbornness for one night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, we're
be more patient, less stubborn somehow.
Okay, well, let's move on to Game Week 14 in detail. As it's a differential time. This is where we recommend a 5% owned differential for the next 4 game weeks. Lee is still dining out on his Ings pick a couple of weeks ago, still delivering. So won't go to him this time around because he's still doing well. My Mbappe pick has just run out. I got a goal from him, but wasn't that great. But at least he wasn't Hudson-Odoi. But at least, I forget now, who was the last one you picked? It was quite good, I seem to remember. And who is your new differential for the upcoming 4 game weeks?
Looking forward to this.
I know. So my first pick was Pukki at the start of the season, just before he got his hat trick. So that was nice. And then my second pick after that run ran out was Marcus Alonso, when Emerson got his injury. I went for Alonso, and he delivered. Yeah, I think he delivered pretty much every week as well. So I think there's only one game week that my picks haven't delivered. So just saying. I said at the start of the Scoutcast that I was going to pick someone quite controversial.
Okay.
And I think I might not, but I might.
Announce Pepe.
Oh God, no. The player I was going to go for was Willian. and for anyone that's listened to the Scoutcast before, I'm not his biggest fan. Am I, Joe?
No.
I've always sort of had a bit of a hatred for him, but I have to say this season I've been really impressed. And what I like about him this season is the fact that he's on the right with basically no competition, and on the other flank there's Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, and Mount, all competing for kind of one spot, although Mount can sometimes come into the middle. So I do really like Willian. I think at 3% ownership, his position is looking really secure, and I think more people should be buying him really, as much as I don't particularly like him. But I'm not going to go for Willian, so he's just an aside. I'm going to go for Dele Alli.
Yes,
because he scored tonight. I was really impressed with him for quite a bit of the match against West Ham. I think the number 10 role sort of really suits him. The little assist, when he set Son up,
nice.
When he fell over and managed to kick it around, I thought that was absolutely brilliant. And this is a player who a couple of seasons ago got 18 goals, 11 assists. He's had double-digit returns on assists. 3 out of his 4 seasons in the Premier League. So he's a player. He's a creative player and a goal-scoring player. And I think Mourinho is going to look to unlock him as much as he can during his time at Spurs. I think he has to, because I think with Eriksen not signing the contract and looking like he's probably going to leave on a free, I think he is the most creative player there. I haven't really seen that much of Lo Celso, so I can't really comment too much on him. But I think Dele Alli is going to be really important to how Spurs play. We talked about him earlier, so I won't go on about much more. But yeah, I'm going to go for Dele Alli.
Yeah, well, you get no arguments from me. I'm always very keen on Dele Alli over many years now. It seems like many years, but we've only really been knocking him around for three or 4 years. Dele Alli's always been my saviour each season. Get him in. He's really low owned. Everyone else goes for Kane or Son, but Dele Alli is racking up those goals and assists, and I think he's going to do it. There is that fear that he becomes, as we mentioned before, the assister of the assists, which isn't so good. But he's definitely passing the eye test. I think I'd like to see a little bit more. You're intriguing your Willian pick though. So looking at the last few game weeks or so. So look at the last 4 game weeks amongst Chelsea assets, and Willian is top of the tree for chances created, 12 there. So next nearest is Pulisic for 7. His goal involvement is 56, which is very good. Goal attempts is 13, just 1 below Pulisic. So yeah, he's a good option. So I'm glad people are warming to Willian, and he's tempting. If I was to go ultra dullard, I'll go Willian, and if I was to go ultra maverick, I think I'd go Ali. But yeah, Lee, what do you reckon those differentials? Do you think, the new Danny Ings we've just been hearing about, or?
Yeah, no, I'm not making any comments on differentials. Danny Ings, I'm dining out on that, and I'll drop the mic and leave now. But no, of the two, Willian, I think he's nice. I mean, he's having a really great season. It looks as if Frank Lampard trusts him to be, amongst a couple of others in there, that kind of senior leader in the team, particularly in the front 3 or 4 there. So I do like that as a pick. Didn't know the underlying stats were quite as good as you just pointed out, Joe. So on that basis, I do like him. And on Dele Alli, let's see a bit more. I think nice differential, no question. But we've mentioned the Spurs fixtures do look pretty tough. They are going to come up against better teams in the next few weeks than poor old West Ham. Despite the flicks and the tricks on the touchline, I think I want to see a bit of consistency. But can't argue as a differential.
Let's move on to clean sheets coming up. So as part of this section where we look at really, the next 4 game weeks, for clean sheets we like to look at 6 game weeks, and that takes us well into the Christmas period. So game week 19 are there. So Lee, can you illuminate and educate and entertain us into who will be the best teams for clean sheets over the next 6 game weeks?
Yes, absolutely. So Fantasy Football Scout members can head over to the ticker on the homepage, and you can look at overall fixtures, but you can also filter by attack and defence. So if you're just looking for clean sheets, you can just hit that defence button and get all the teams in order. And there's a couple of interesting names in there. Leicester were all on Soyuncu or Chilwell or Pereira. For the next 4 game weeks, look sensational. Everton and Watford at home, Villa away, Norwich at home, before it stiffens up a little bit with City away and then Liverpool. But some other interesting names in there. Crystal Palace actually at the top of the ticker with Burnley, Bournemouth, Watford, Brighton, Newcastle, West Ham over the next 6. So there's nothing in
Kelly.
there. Yeah, nothing in there. If you're owning Martin Kelly, or you're taking a bit of a differential punt on somebody like Patrick Van Aanholt, if you've got the keeper Gaeta, there's a lot to like about those fixtures, and nothing you should be scared of in terms of conceding goals. Other teams in there, Sheffield United, so absolutely stick on Lundstrom. Southampton are in there with a couple of nice home games in the next 2. Watford at home, Norwich at home. They go then away to Newcastle, then home to West Ham, away to Villa, and then away to Chelsea. So certainly in the short term, 3 of the next 4 at home for Southampton. So not necessarily say I'll be backing them for clean sheets wholeheartedly, but there's some nice fixtures there that could see a bit of an upturn in form. So some interesting names. Chelsea and Manchester United also in there. Certainly, the likes of Tomori, if you've got anybody from the Manchester United defence, like the young man who played the other night, Brandon Williams, who's now got 2 90 minutes back to back, 4.0 he is in Fantasy Premier League. So if you want a real cheapie, I'm not going to say he's going to score every week, although he did take his goal very, very nicely the other day. If you're looking for a cheapie way into the Manchester United defence, given that their fixtures over the next 6 look okay for clean sheets, then maybe Brandon Williams. Although, of course, Ashley Young will have something to say about that.
He was poor, I thought, apart from the goal was excellent, but I don't think I've ever seen a player fall over the ball as many times as Williams did in that game.
Yeah, he didn't have the greatest game. No, I must admit, I didn't actually watch the whole of the game. We were out that evening, but I did see the goal, and I did see that he took it very well. So instantly, I was like, bang, well, I want to have a look at this guy. What's his price? But no, I'll bow to your better judgment. As if you said he played, if you say he was falling over the ball, then perhaps we'll hold off for the time.
Nevertheless, a good enabler. It depends who else you get in as well. The thing that really struck me out was Leicester. So great fixtures, and then you got game week 18, City, and then the City and Liverpool double axes of doom in 18 and 19 over there for Leicester. And that's where those who've got Pereira, Chilwell, Sionji might start to think, well, should we go elsewhere? Aurier, perhaps, could be one.
That game week 18 is really nasty as well, because that's the week. That's when Liverpool missed the fixture.
Yeah.
So you've got Leicester against City away, and then you've got Liverpool without a game. So that's going to be that's going to decimate that defence.
Chelsea played Tottenham that week as well to pile on the misery. So it'd be a good time to look elsewhere perhaps, and for those Leicester assets, perhaps Maddison to someone else. I don't know. These are just speculating, but they're away from clean sheets. I noticed with Palace as well. It's worth mentioning not only just with their excellent defensive prospects coming up with those fixtures, but I think Zaha for the Mavericks and Milivojevic for the Dullards are very nice midfield options. I know there's lots of choice at the moment, but if you're looking at a kind of set and forget place, Zaha's the guy with the goals and Milivojevic is the guy with the penalties. So
I like the Maverick Zaha pick as well, Joe, because we haven't seen much of it so far of him so far this season, but coming up to January transfer window, you know what he's like. He always puts on a few performances to put himself in the shop window.
Look at me, everyone. Come and take me away from Palace. And to be honest, as a Brighton fan, I don't blame him.
Please.
So let's move on to game week 14 in earnest and bus teams. This is where, the prospect, the fear that something might happen with us on a bus. So these are the teams we're set up with now. But I understand, Lee, you've already made some moves. Tell us about your bus team for game week 14 and the moves you've made.
Yeah, so I've stopped being stubborn. Vardy has had to come in. He actually, when I hit go on the transfers, and it just felt really, just didn't like it. I just don't really want Vardy in my team, but he's just so performing right now, and affecting my rank. Every week I don't have him, so he's had to come in. Sterling has gone, despite what we were saying before about the impact of Jesus on his game, and given that I did a bit of research between transferring Sterling out and coming on here on the Scoutcast, I'm now starting to wonder whether I've done the right thing. But Sterling was getting deeply frustrating for me, to the point where I don't feel comfortable captaining him over the next few weeks. Plus, he's got this ban potentially looming with the extra yellow, and of course the Man City fixtures do look pretty tough. So given that I don't feel comfortable putting the armband on him, I don't want him in my team. So I took the money out of him to fund Vardy. So I did Connolly to Vardy by using some Sterling money. And with the leftover money, I put Pulisic in. So I'm a big fan of Pulisic, a big fan. I know that potentially there's some rotation there with the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi, but genuinely think that Pulisic, big price tag, big expectations. Frank took him out of the team for a few weeks to kind of put his arm around him and say, look, listen, I know you didn't have much of a pre-season. I know you played in internationals in, I think it was called the Gold Cup, wasn't it, in the summer? Just settle into the team, get used to the training ground and everything. And then he sort of unleashed him a few game weeks ago. And since then, the underlying stats for Pulisic have been absolutely sensational when they play that West Ham team who were pretty inept last game week. So I really like Pulisic in. Vardy is a very, very shield pick. There's my bus team. Bus team. And right now, my captaincy is on Sadio Mane, which we'll talk about a bit later on, I guess.
Yeah, so here's my team up. So I haven't made my moves yet, but I'm very tempted to take a hit or not. And taking a leaf out of your book there, Lee, the obvious move for me is Mount to Pulisic. It's an upgrade, I believe. Mount, I don't think, is as effective. And as we've seen, he's getting rotated as well. Pulisic was being rotated, no longer rotated. Captain America, startling form, all of that. It could be the new Hazard. Don't know. He's just worth it for his price. He's worth giving it a go. And I think that's the move. I have enough in the bank to get Moura or Ali as well. Very tempting. My other option is a hit. Finally get rid of Otamendi to a Gilbert. I know. And it's just sort of spending points just to tidy it up because I don't like the look of it. It's like redecorating horrible wallpaper. And I might spend extra money doing it, but you feel much better afterwards. And I like the look of Villa's fixtures for the latter part of the festive period there. So Gilbert in, possibly Charlie Taylor, and Son I think is potentially captainable for some fixtures. Although game week 18, as pointed out, can be a bit of a problem, and it's not looking good for them against Chelsea. So possibly not captainable then. Anyway, I'm rambling. So lots of thoughts ahead. Okay, there's me indecisive, Lee decisive. Where are you for game week 14?
I'm decisive this week. I'm not doing anything. I've had enough of hits.
Oh.
I'm pretty happy with my team this week. I would be absolutely amazed if Aubameyang stays in my team past this Norwich game.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just got to go, because I'm just absolutely sick of the sight of him. So Jesus is one name I'm considering. I'm also tempted to join you on the Vag and go for Jimenez. If I went for Jimenez, I'd probably have enough money to upgrade McGinn to Ali as well, which is quite nice. If I went for Jesus, then I'm probably looking at playing 4 at the back, because whatever happens, I'm getting Lundstrom in for that home game against Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I'll fund that basically is with Aubameyang leaving. If Aubameyang scores a hat-trick against Norwich and Emery gets sacked, then things may shake up my decision a bit, but I'll have 2 transfers and Lundstrom will be coming in, because that run of games, I mean, honestly, I think he's captainable in that run of games. Newcastle at home, if I saw people that captain Lundstrom, I wouldn't even be surprised. I think he literally is getting to that status now where he is a genuine captain pick, which is crazy for a 4 million defender.
That is
crazy. And the fact I'm considering basically shaking up my team to sell last year's Golden Boot winner for a 4 million defender.
Love that.
Is great, and just sums up the season.
But that was like, when I remember last season I wildcarded, and I said I'm wildcarded because of Ryan Fraser. He is, and it seems crazy. Low, cheap to mid-price midfielder as he was then for Bournemouth, and he was the secret to unlock my wildcard team. But sometimes you get that, and Lundstrom is the secret to locking many a wildcard team, many a shake-up. So there's nothing wrong with that. Notice you got Mane as captain, same as Lee, and the same as me, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. I think I mentioned it earlier. Between Mane and Vardy, for me, Mane at the moment has got it.
We've got no chance.
Well, I've got no chance.
No, Brighton. Like, we've got absolutely no chance. Like, we are going to get thrashed.
For more of that, I won't repeat the captaincy video that I did earlier today with David, but it's out as a podcast as well. Have a listen, have a watch of that. That explained fully why me and him are both looking at Mane there. But we do concede that Vardy is a great option. But Everton's defensive stats are actually not as bad as you might think. But no, we've been there before. Brighton's home stats weren't as bad as you thought, and then Vardy hauled, so who knows. So we've had a bit of everything there. Decision, indecision, and just damn right I'm not doing anything. And why not? Just before we go, I just wanted to flag up some developments with our members area. We've launched our rolling monthly membership scheme. For those that don't know, it's £1.99 a month for the first month if you sign up before Monday, December the 2nd. So get in there. Rises to £2.99 a month for every month after. Well worth it. So we've had some stats coming out, and season ticker, for example, in this latest episode, but all of our videos and podcasts are all absolutely chock full of them. And if you're a member, you get all sorts of access to all those sorts of things, exclusive articles. The list goes on. We've also launched an Instagram account as well, which I believe Sam is the guru of the Instagram.
She is, yeah.
She's taken control of that. So do check that out. We've spread our wings further across social media. But for now, good luck to both of you with the game week. But it's a goodbye from me.
And from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Goodbye all.